We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Not since the days of the now debunked Russian collusion scandal have we seen politicians and the media classes desperate to provide a specific spin and narrative on a story. Only this time, it's aimed at bringing down an investigation rather than lifting it up. Special counsel John Durham's investigation into Hillary Clinton's campaign and whether it sought to illegally bring down Donald Trump has become a lightning rod for political partisanship. But what's the truth? Welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, here on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's show, we're talking John Durham, his investigation, and cancel culture. I want to take a moment to say a special thank you to our listeners in Arlington, Virginia, on WWRC 570 AM. Thanks for being part of the team. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. In what may turn out to be as big a scandal as Watergate itself, the Durham report has all the potential to see heads roll, politically speaking. But what does it contain? And perhaps more importantly, how is it being rolled out? Well, we're thrilled to welcome back to the show a longtime host of this here Liberty Nation Radio and Liberty Nation senior political analyst, Mr. Tim Donner. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Like I say, Mark, always a pleasure.
So first, Tim, you've got to give me an outline of the latest findings. What do they suggest? What are the implications?
Well, John Durham, the special counsel who was appointed back in 2019, has alleged that the Clinton presidential campaign in 2016 paid a tech company to infiltrate the servers of Donald Trump at Trump Towers, his Central Park West apartment, and ultimately the White House after he was elected president in order, and this was specifically stated in the court filing, that it was for the purpose of finding derogatory information about him. Now, that may seem obvious, but when it's actually specifically included in the complaint or in the charge, in the filing, then it shows that the purpose was to smoke him out and try to get him first out of the campaign and then out of office by completely fabricating the Trump-Russia collusion scandal, for which more than one person won Pulitzer Prizes. Mark, think about that. Pulitzer Prizes for a complete hoax, and no chance that those Pulitzer Prizes get rescinded.
Now, are these findings credible, or are they, as the very few leftist media outlets that have even covered the story properly, just the fevered dreams of Trump supporters?
Well, it seems clear with, now that we're a few days removed from the initial court filing, that they couldn't completely ignore it. They tried to. On Sunday, which would have been the day to publish the finding, nothing. Crickets in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, virtually every major media outlet ignored a story which, looked at objectively, neutrally, is at least as damaging as Watergate. Because now you have someone spying on, hacking, which is the equivalent of breaking into headquarters, isn't it? That's the 21st century equivalent of breaking into the
digital version,
headquarters. And they've ignored it completely. Now, they finally realized that they had to do some coverage of it. The Washington Post ran a fact check saying that the Durham filing says much less than what Trump claims it says. The New York Times ran a news analysis on Monday that basically scolded right-wing outlets for promoting alarmist claims and dismissed coverage of the bombshell as mostly old news, nothing new, nothing to see here. And then you want to go to the far left, to the pretty much communist publication of Daily Kos, said Donald Trump is calling for the death penalty as John Durham shockingly charges no one with anything, which of course, that may be true to this point, but it sounds like the indictments are going to flow freely from here. So My question is, Mark, as a trained and seasoned journalist myself, I wonder how these journalists at the New York Times and the Washington Post and elsewhere can sleep with themselves at night to ignore a story of the importance of Watergate, to act as if there's nothing there. How do they live with themselves? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's really quite disturbing how little coverage of it was happening. I mean, I did some research myself on that, and I got the list here of the sources I went to: ABC, CNN, LA Times, MSNBC, NBC, New York Times, The Atlantic, The Nation, USA Today, and of course Washington Post. And not a single one had a story on that by Monday afternoon. So this was 2 days. Well, the filings came out on Friday. And so they hadn't touched the story, and it was quite surprising that journalists have put so much ideology above what they're actually supposed to be doing. Now,
I mean, let's be honest, they have completely sacrificed their journalistic credibility. Now, they probably had completely sacrificed it at the altar of protecting Joe Biden from the Hunter Biden laptop story. So in that sense, they were already fully sold out. So this is just further proof, but it's utterly shameful, and it shows that we've come to the point where media is nothing but advocacy.
I think one of the most important aspects of this whole deal, Tim, is one that you outlined in a recent article on the pages of libertynation.com, and that was the timing of the release. Would you care to fill us in on that?
As much as this is a bombshell allegation, as I put in my story on libertynation.com, the timing of it suggests that it's going to wind up being a lot less than it might be because of a simple fact that no other outlets seem to be covering, which is that it was released on Super Bowl Saturday. Now, around Washington, it's conventional wisdom that if you have something that makes you look good, you release it early in the week, so you bask in the primetime glory of it all week. If you have bad news, you release it late on a Friday when no one's paying attention because they're looking forward to the weekend. This was even worse. It was released on Super Bowl Saturday when everybody's out buying stuff for their Super Bowl parties and paying attention to the biggest spectacle in American culture of the entire year. So the fact that Durham leveled a very serious charge here after 3 years of investigation, but released it on Super Bowl weekend suggests that this man, who for 45 years has been a government prosecutor, want to make sure that he does his job, but he wants to make sure that he doesn't make a spectacle of himself and release it at a time where the media might be forced to cover it during the weekdays when people are particularly paying attention. So Durham wants to release the facts, but he doesn't want to go too far and embarrass his fellow members of the deep state. Now, the other thing is, Mark, is a little more obvious. Durham's been at this for 3 years. It took 1,000 days to come up with this revelation. I'm sorry, with the full weight of the government and the Justice Department at your avail, how does it take you 1,000 days or 15 months past the last election in question to release something that now has very little significance, except to the extent that Barack Obama and his vice president and current president, Joe Biden, may or may not have had anything to do with this whole thing? Because, of course, we know they were all tied together during the Clinton campaign, trying to make sure Donald Trump never got elected. So I think the next question, though, you're going to get is they'll start questioning the credibility of John Durham, even though he had been employed by the Obama administration as a special counsel, as an earlier investigation in 2010. So they have a few more cards to play. But the timing of this suggests that Durham doesn't want to make a federal case out of it.
Now, with that stuff in mind, I know a lot of people have hopes for an ultimate truth here that will be revealed at some point in the future. But how do you see it playing out? Will it be like the Mueller report, which was, for many people, is more a Rorschach test, in which case you could take out of it what you wanted to take out or see what you wanted to see?
Mark, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? If this is a scandal of Watergate proportions, but elite media institutes a complete blackout on the story, will it have any impact on 2022 and 2024? That's the open question. It's up to the voters. Because ironically, Mark, in an age where we have more information available than ever, right at our fingertips, on demand, 24/7, 365, people are more than capable of informing themselves about critical issues and stories. And yet, in the 2020 campaign, in a survey that was done afterwards of swing state voters by the Media Research Center, 50% of voters said they did not know anything about the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, which turned out to be completely true, not denied at all. 50% didn't even know. And when asked if it would have changed their votes when presented with the facts, the proven facts of the situation, it would have reversed the outcome of the election. The media succeeded in burying a story that might have beaten their guy. So if they did it then, they're certainly going to do it now, because on reflection, Hillary Clinton's crimes could damage Joe Biden, no question. And of course, their job now is not to be journalists, it's to protect the left.
Tim Donner, thank you ever so much.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Later in the show, we examine the legal specifics of the Durham investigation. But up next, why is the media keen to bury the whole story? We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fighting for freedom.
The tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.